Hi there, this is Ranjit from tech2bus.com, and in this video we're going to do the full review of this HTC Desire X, and this is a mid-range Android phone by HTC, and I have been testing this phone now for the last couple of days. So let's get into the detailed review of the same. Before getting into the review, I want to thank Faisal Communications for providing this unit for review, and this unit sells in India. The street pricing is approximately about 19,000. Let me start with the physical overview. On the top, we'll get this 3.5mm headphone jack. The power button, as you can see, is in the middle. And if we move towards this side, we have the volume rocker. But I have a problem with this volume rocker. The volume rocker is not tactile. If you depress this low volume button, there is hardly any feedback. It's very surprising. But if you click on the top button for increasing the volume, you get the feedback. But as I said, if you lower the volume, you hardly get any feedback. So that's one con I have. And if we move again here, we have nothing. And at the bottom, we have a hole for the microphone. And on this side, we have the micro USB slot that will be used for charging and syncing. The back cover is actually made up of plastic, but it's really nice and it resists fingerprints. And as you can see, you can't see any fingerprints or etc. I've been using this phone the last couple of days. And we do get a 5 megapixel rear facing camera and an LED flash. But the problem with this camera is that the video recording capabilities is restricted to just 480p, which is such a shame. And we have the HTC branding, and here we have the speaker grill, and it says Beats Audio. The speaker grill, I would say the clarity is very good, but in terms of loudness, it's just mediocre. Because if you place the phone like this at the bottom, the problem is that the sound reduces by 50%. So that's one thing. And moving towards the front, we have this nice earpiece, and I have to say the voice quality that I got while testing this phone was very good. I'll rate it 10 out of 10, no issues. We also have a LED light over here, so if you get a missed call or a email, etc., this light glows. And we do have an ambient light sensor and even a proximity sensor. But one thing missing is that there is no front facing camera on this phone, which is such a shame. And moving down, we have a 4-inch SLCD screen, and I have to say, though it's not a IPS grade screen, it's a really nice screen in my opinion, and the viewing angles etc. are fairly good, and the color reproduction again was very good. So I don't have any problems with the screen. Even outdoors in sunlight, the screen was legible if you keep it on auto brightness. And the resolution it offers is 480 by 800. And it's a 4-inch screen. And at the bottom, HTC decided to have these 3 touch type capacitive buttons. One is for the back, one is for the home, and the last one is for the multitasking tray. And if you just click it, you can scroll between all the apps that are open, and you can also just swipe off so that you can close the apps. So that's nice. And coming towards the configuration, this phone sports a 1 GHz dual core processor. It also has a dedicated GPU, that's Adreno 203. I'll talk about it a bit later. The RAM provided is 768 MB. And in my day-to-day testing with this phone, I did not face any lags or anything like that. So that's really good. And by default, the phone comes with 5 home screens. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you must have already known, it runs on the HTC Sense UI interface. Out of the box, we get the ice cream sandwich. And let me show you the same. Let's go to about the phone and software information. The Android version it comes preloaded is 4.0.4, and HTC Sense version is 4.1. But HTC has mentioned that this phone will get an update to the Jellybean. So that's a good thing. Internal storage is 4 GB, but out of that only 2 GB is available to you. But you can also add a micro SD card. Let me show you the storage thing. And this is the storage. And as you can see, you get about 1.1 GB for your internal storage, and the phone storage you get is 1 GB, and you can also add a SD card. I've added a 2 GB SD card. In India, they are bundling an 8 GB SD card free with this phone. So in terms of storage also, you should not have major issues. This phone does support a removable battery. I have already done the unboxing of this phone, and you can check out that video how to insert your micro SD card, the battery and the SIM. The battery this phone houses is a 1650 milliampere battery, and in my testing you can easily get 1 day's worth of usage with medium usage. So in terms of battery life, I would say it is decent, no issues with the same. One thing that HTC did is that it does support 3G, but the 3G speeds are a bit limited in my opinion. It supports just speeds up to 7.2 Mbps, which is such a shame because it's a dual core Android phone. Now I'm connected to Wi-Fi, so let's quickly just fire up the web browser. And also the typing on this phone is very comfortable because as you can see, this the keyboard is very nice, and also it's pretty wide, so it's very easy to type on this phone in my opinion. And let's go to tech2buzz.com. Oops, let me clear it. Yeah, it's loading. As you have noticed, it loads it pretty quickly in my opinion. And pinch to zoom is also nice. HTC also loaded Chrome web browser on this, and I used that also, and that was also good enough. But the unique feature that you get with the stock browser is the text reflow option. You don't get that with Chrome. As you can see, if I just narrow it down, the text will reflow. As you can see, that's nice. And let's now load a heavy website like Engadget. And if you notice, this loaded the full web version, not the mobile version, and it's still loading actually. Let it load. And I would say in terms of web browsing also, it was pretty responsive, no issues. While it's loading the page, if you do the pinch to zoom gesture, it is a little bit jerky, but once the page has loaded, it is a lot better in my opinion. It could have been better considering that it has a dual core processor. Let me just stop loading this web page. Maybe my internet connection is having a problem. Yeah, it's done. Now let's try the pinch gesture. As you can see, the pinch gesture is fairly smooth. It's not buttery smooth as you would have expected, but fairly acceptable. As you can see, the thing is that as I said, in the stock browser, HTC tries to do the text reflow, and that takes about a half a second or so to do it. So you feel that it's a little bit jerky. But overall, in terms of web browsing, I would say it's decent enough. So that's for the web browsing. Also, I played a lot of media on this phone, and I did not face any issues with the same. Let me show you the same. In terms of media playback, it is best to install a third-party video player like this MX player, because the default media player that you get with this phone is very limited. It cannot play back a lot of video formats. So I'm going to test it with this MX video player, and this is a 720p HD footage, and as you can see, it runs it without any issues. It is really smooth. It's a slow video, but as you can see, let me show you another trailer also. This is again a 720p video, and it's a very high bit 720p content. It's a high bit 720p video. And as you can see, it plays it back without any issues. It couldn't play back 1080p content, but if you restrict the content to 720p, you shouldn't have any problems. One thing I've noticed is that the speaker, as I said, is a little bit weak. If you are playing back videos and just you keep it like this, the sound reduces by 50%. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. So overall, in terms of media playback, I don't have any issues with the phone. Now coming to the camera, HTC decided to put a 5 megapixel camera, but they did decide to put the imaging chip that they have on their higher end phones like the 1X series, 1S. So it's a pretty good camera in my opinion. Let me show you the same, and it also supports the burst option. And if you just click on it, you get the tap to focus, and it also does face detection. And if you notice how quickly it took the snap, for example, I'll just take a snap of my speaker, and again, as you can see, this is completely artificial light. I disabled the flash, then also the pictures are very clear, and we do get this burst option. Let me show you the same. I'm going to take a lot of pictures like this. And as you can see, it took a bunch of photographs like this. So the burst mode is also there. Let me delete all these. Let's cancel. One thing I do not like is, as I mentioned, this phone supports video recording, but it's limited. Let me show you the same. It does not even support 720p video recording. The max is 800 by 480. So that's a big bummer in my opinion, because the phone has the hardware to support 720p video recording in my opinion. Now let me also show you some of the pictures that I took with this phone in varying light conditions, and I have to say the quality was very good. And I took all these pictures in varying light conditions and they come out to be pretty good. I'll just show you all these photographs in full screen so that you can get an idea about the same. These photos were shot with the HTC Desire X outdoors during the day, and I feel this phone takes pretty good pictures with natural lighting. And these pictures were taken in semi-indoor conditions, in very low lighting conditions with the flash, and this is without the flash. And these pictures were taken in completely artificial light in my office, and this is without the flash, and this same picture with the flash. So overall, I'd say it's a very decent camera that HTC has put. It's a 5 megapixel, but the big bummer is no 720p video. Why HTC? Why? Because the hardware is capable of doing the same. Also, as I mentioned, we do not have a front-facing camera on this model. Now moving to the benchmarks, before that let me also show you the free RAM available. Let me just kill all these apps. I'm just going to swipe them out. Oops, this one also. And I'm going to use this advanced task killer to kill all the apps to make sure that we don't have anything running. I'm just going to kill all. And now let me fire up this Android system info app, and as you can see, the free RAM that we get is about 330 MB. And in my testing, I did not find any issues with this phone. The phone was very fluid to use, and even the multitasking was very smooth. So I would say this phone runs fine with this 330 MB of RAM that we get free. And now let me just run this Ninamark benchmark. I already ran it earlier once, and as you can see, we got a score of 34.4, which is, I would say, pretty decent for a mid-range phone. It's not the highest that you get, considering the fact that this phone sports just a Adreno 203 GPU. And as I mentioned, this volume down bug, it's irritating. You hardly get any feedback. And I also tested this phone with some 3D games, and they ran fine. For example, for games like Dead Trigger and all the casual games like Amazing Alex, Angry Birds, etc. They all ran fine. And as you can see, we got a score of 35.1, which is decent enough. Let me publish the scores. And as you can see, the Ninamark says that the GPU used on this phone is the Adreno 203. So that's for the Ninamark test. I also ran the quadrant benchmark and AT&TU, but I'm not going to run it again because it takes a lot of time. But I did save those scores, so let me show you the same. And with the quadrant benchmark, we get a score of 2586, which is a decent score for a dual core Android phone. And the breakup is total is 2586. Out of that, the CPU got a score of 5143. Memory is 1283, IO is 4213, 2D is 542, and 3D is 1751. So that's for the quadrant benchmark. And I also ran this AT&TU, and we got a very healthy score of 5151. And let me show you the breakup also. This is the breakup. You can just pause the screen to get an idea about the same. So in terms of benchmark also, very decent performance in my opinion. And also the touch was very sensitive on this phone. I did not have any problems with the touch. And let me show you the same using this Temple Run game. And I'll just raise the volume a little bit. And let me just play it. And as you can see, it runs this game without any issues. Also while stressing the phone, so that's for the game. Also, while stressing the phone did not get very hot, but this portion gets a little bit warm, and I would say that's normal with the Android phones. So no issues again regarding the same. So also in terms of gaming, it's a decent phone, but I doubt it might run very heavy games like Asphalt 7 etc., because it has just 768 MB of RAM. Now let me also show you the multi-touch points this phone supports, and that's also decent enough in my opinion. Where did that app go? And here is the multi-touch tester, and I tested it earlier. I got 4 touch points. Let me show you the same. Let me keep the phone down. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just get 4 multi-touch points, and I would say that is enough, good enough. So that's for the multi-touch points. Also in terms of messaging etc., as I said, I didn't have any problems because the phone keyboard is really nice and it's really wide. And we do also get this predictive text, so that makes it a lot easier. And it also supports the ICS voice dictation, so let me try the same. This is a test for the voice dictation, and if you noticed, it also worked fine. So again, in terms of text input etc., no issues. You can also move it to the landscape orientation if you want, and that also works. Now let me also show you the speaker volume, and by loading the Savan app, I'm just going to play some random song, put it on full volume first. I'm just going to select something, make sure it's on full volume, and volume I would say is mediocre, not very loud, but if you keep it down it gets a little bit muffled up. But the good thing is we do have a lot of clarity. So let me get rid of the same, and we also get this stock HTC dialer, and it has smart dialing, so that's really nice. And let me also show you the speaker quality here also. Let me switch on the speaker, and this is also very clear. So that's also nice. And as I already mentioned, the voice calls with this earpiece was also very good, so no issues. So what is my overall rating about this phone? This is a decent mid-range Android phone, but it's not without its faults. The main faults that I found with this phone is the volume rocker. It is not tactile. It is really weird to explain, but you hardly get any feedback when you lower the volume, which can be annoying at times. Also, the rear facing camera, though it's a 5 megapixel and it takes good photographs, HTC decided to restrict the 720p video recording, and that's kind of a bummer in my opinion. And another thing that I feel that HTC should have provided is a front facing camera, because this is a mid-range Android phone, and these days you are getting a lot of mid-range Android phones with the front facing camera. So these are some of my issues. Apart from that, it's a really nice phone, and in my testing I did not face any lags or anything like that. And in India this phone sells currently for around 19,000. that's the street pricing. So in my overall opinion, it's a nice Android phone. I hope you found this video review helpful. That's it for now. This is Ranjit from tech2buzz.com, and I hope to see you in my next video.